end of this lesson, teachers will be able to identify the 4 different types of writing, to structure paragraphs correctly, and to create mind maps. They will teach their students how to structure paragraphs, create mind maps, and how to apply pre-writing strategies while writing. We learned about the different stages of writing and about paragraph writing in an earlier module. Today, we are going to explore these topics in greater detail. The first thing to know is that there are different types of writing. Just like we change our clothes depending on where we are going, we change our writing style depending on the type of writing. At this level, the students are only required to know narrative and descriptive writing, that is, story and essay writing. Click on each type of writing to learn more about it. Narrative writing is another name for storytelling. It involves characters, a story, and sequencing. Descriptive writing uses senses to describe something and makes the reader feel the scene being described. Expository writing explains something. Persuasive writing tries to convince the reader of something. Even though we have to change our style of writing depending on whether it's narrative or descriptive, we still have to follow the basic stages and structure of writing. Let's quickly recap some things we learned earlier. Each sentence represents a complete thought. Each paragraph organizes a group of sentences which revolve around the main idea. A topic sentence, usually the first sentence in a paragraph, states the main idea or point of the paragraph. After the topic sentence, we have supporting sentences that provide extra details about the main idea. Lastly, a concluding sentence is the ending sentence for a paragraph. Typically, it sums up the paragraph or creates interest for the reader to continue reading. Which ideas should we develop into paragraphs? How long should a paragraph be? These questions and many more often come into the mind of any writer. Let's learn the answers to these so that you can write in a better and more organized way. Before we pre-write, we should read the topic and try to understand whether it requires us to talk about something or someone that we already know or to create a new story. Sometimes we find ourselves confused and without any ideas. To get our creativity running, we can use some pre-writing strategies. Different students will find different strategies useful. Have the students practice each strategy a few times in class, but after that, let them choose whichever method works best for them. Before we start using these strategies, we should know the length of the story or the essay. This is so that we are able to divide our time correctly. When we are brainstorming, we are just trying to think of some initial ideas. They can be as crazy or basic as we want. A mind map is a way to organize our ideas and represent them visually. A mind map connects related ideas to each other. The process of making a mind map is as follows. First, we write the main idea in the center. Then, we branch out and start thinking of connected ideas. If we want to develop any of these ideas further, we can create more branches. For example, let's write about the last picnic I went to. When I'm brainstorming, I will just think about it. Ginger Lake, migratory birds, buffaloes, fish in the river, fish for lunch, biryani, lassi, family, fun, bus rides, jokes, songs, games, water, and more. Then I start mind mapping. I group my ideas in big categories and I start writing them down and making the connections between them clear. Animals is one main idea, food is another, weather is a third, and nature is a fourth. I can then decide which topic or topics I want to treat with greater detail. Since I'm talking about the picnic, nature and family seem like the most relevant ideas. Let's make a mind map. Look at all these ideas. Can you figure out what the main one is? Drag it to the correct position. Look at the remaining ideas. Which ones do you think should come next? When our topic requires us to think of our own story, we need to spend some time thinking about the different parts of that story. Deciding upon the characters and setting is fairly easy. With the plot, we need to think harder. Usually, when starting a story, we give some background information about the characters. In Cinderella, for example, the background information is that her parents died and her stepmother is evil. As the story continues, there is then some conflict. That is, a problem. Sometimes this is when two characters are against each other. Sometimes this happens if a character is in trouble, and so on. Ultimately, there is a resolution. That is, the problem gets fixed. When writing a story, we need to sequence these parts so that they all make sense. After pre-writing, we can start the actual writing process. Regardless of the type of writing, we need to follow the basic paragraph structure. Each part of the story or each important action should have at least one paragraph. While writing, use the topic sentence to introduce the action, the supporting sentences to give details, and the concluding sentence to wrap up and provide a link to the next paragraph. Read your paragraph again. Are there any spelling or grammatical mistakes? Does it make sense? The rewriting process is all about seeing if you can change your writing to make it better. Drag these sentences into the correct order to form a paragraph. After pre-writing, we can start the actual writing process. Regardless of the type of writing, we need to follow the basic paragraph structure. Each part of the story or each important action should have at least one paragraph. While writing, use the topic sentence to introduce the action, the supporting sentences to give details, and the concluding sentence to wrap up and provide a link to the next paragraph. Read your paragraph again. Are there any spelling or grammatical mistakes? Does it make sense? The rewriting process is all about seeing if you can change your writing to make it better. While you can teach your students some of the technical aspects of writing, it needs to be something that you work on from the very beginning of the year until the very end. The best way to do this is read lots of different kinds of books. Read them out loud with your students, encourage students to borrow books from the library, and so on. As you teach your students writing, remember that the tasks you give them on any day should reflect the fact that writing is a process. This means that instead of asking them to write a long story right away, build their skills with each individual component and give them enough time to pre-write, write, and rewrite. The most important and valuable thing you can do for your students is to encourage their reading and writing habits. Here are some suggestions for how you can do that. Reading and writing trackers keep track of how much students are reading and writing. Find a way to accurately check students' progress and display it in a public place. This gives students incentive to work harder. You can even use prizes such as certificates and so on. Other than having trackers in school, you can advise students to keep a diary at home that they write in regularly. You don't have to check the diary, but encourage the students to occasionally bring it to school and show it to you and their class fellows if they want. Making them feel proud about reading and writing will play an important role in shaping your students' writing habits.
Teacher, look at my diary.
How nice, Amna. Let's see what you've written about this week.
Teacher, I went to the park with Ammi and Abu.
How wonderful. I can see that you made drawings as well. Let's update your writing tracker.
Teacher, I also read my library book this week.
Which one?
The Clumsy Crocodile.
Great. Let's update your reading tracker as well. Raise your hand and tell me some words that you think of when you hear the word beach.
Sand, picnic, shells.
Good. We were quickly thinking of ideas. Now tell me something. When you have to go to the bazaar and your mother asks you to bring lots of things, how do you remember?
I write it down.
Good. Writing things down is a way of being organized. We can organize our thoughts by writing them down. Today, we'll learn a special strategy for organizing our thoughts. It's called mind mapping. First, I write the main idea in the middle. What was the main idea just now?
Beach.
Right, a trip to the beach. Abid, can you come up and write the main idea in the middle? We use mind maps to show connections between ideas. We just spoke about games and family and fish and crabs and more. Let's try to think if we can make 4 categories and group our thoughts into these categories. What category do you think ice cream and biryani belong to?
Food.
Now let's write connecting words for food. Amna, can you come up and do that?
Mind mapping can be a tricky technique for students. Spend at least one entire lesson practicing it and give the children lots of relevant homework. Once they master this, you can move on to outlining and finally to complete story and essay writing.
Hamza, what do you have to write?
An essay about my pen.
All right. Now let's think of how we describe things. Can you tell me about the different parts of your pen?
It has a cap, a nib, ink, and this metal part.
Good. Tell me more about the pen. I don't just want you to tell me about how it looks. When we describe things, we think of the 5 senses.
Taste, smell, touch, hearing, and sight.
That's right, Amna. Hamza, use your 5 senses to tell me more about the pen. Try using your sense of smell and touch.
It smells like plastic and ink. I don't like the smell. It feels hard and smooth. The nib and the metal feels cold. It is green, but the ink is blue.
Good. Now, will you taste your pen as well?
No, miss.
You're right. I was just joking. Now, use an outline or mind map to write the points you thought of. After that, you have 20 minutes to write. So decide which points you want to write about. Remember, you want the reader to be able to exactly imagine and feel the pen you're describing. Amna, who are the main characters in Cinderella?
Cinderella, the prince, the stepmother, the stepsisters, and the fairy godmother.
Abid, can you tell me the setting?
Her house and the prince's castle.
Hamza, what was the main problem in the story?
Her stepmother was not nice, and she also didn't allow Cinderella to go to the ball.
At this stage, such a process should be revision for the students. So don't spend too much time on it.
Amna, please read the topic.
The scary forest.
Is the scary forest something you already know, or will you have to imagine a story?
I will have to imagine a story.
All right. For a story, what are some of the things we need to think of? In the story of Goldilocks, who were the people and animals in the story?
Oh, we need to think of the characters.
So, who will be the characters in your story?
A girl and a boy.
And the setting is the forest. We already know that. Good. Now I want you to think of the rest of the elements of a story. The plot, the problem, the resolution. Spend 2 minutes thinking and make a mind map or an outline and then start writing. I am so excited to read your story.